All right, guys, we're back at it with another guide, and today is going to be a Staban guide. And guess who we have today? We have another guest on the show today. It is RLAgent. RL, say hi.
Hello, everyone.
Yeah, so RL is actually also one of the guys from the Mr. Beast Invitational, and in the third tournament, he got third at the third in the Invitational, where he actually just edged me out for third place there. So congrats. And you were what, a top eight finisher in the fourth tournament as well, right?
Yeah, I guess so.
So yeah, I mean he's a very strong player. If you guys look him up, look his stats up in the in the Dune rank server, you guys can see that he's a very strong player. He's even better at Immortality than he is at Uprising and Bloodlines with the community version. But if you guys want to go against RL in Immortality, I'm sure he'll be glad to take you on. But anyways, with that, I think we should just get started. So RL, you here?
Yeah, yeah.
Okay, all right. So let's get started with Staban. So the first thing that we want to talk about Staban is actually what he does. What leader is this? So this is a 3-star leader, meaning 3-tier difficulty compared to like other leaders like Muad'Dib or Amber, who are like 1 tier. It's like super easy to play. Staban is one of the harder leaders to play. He has an ability called Limited Allies, or maybe it's a disability called Limited Allies. You start the game without a diplomacy in your deck, which actually is, it can be pretty bad because you only have you have 9 cards in your deck, but one of them Seek Allies, which is going to be trashed, and you're going to be playing an 8-card deck, and you have no faction access for the rest of the game. So throughout this video, you're going to be seeing a lot of recurring trends as we talk about like cards or text or whatever, with a lot about faction access. So that's we'll get into it later. So the next thing about Staban is actually one of the things that really makes him overpowered. Compared to other leaders, but it makes sense because of the Limited Allies ability, right? It's called Smuggle Spice. Whenever another player sends an agent to a maker board space that you are spying on, you gain a spice. So if I'm Staban here and I spend a spy I have a spy on Haga Basin, and say RL takes his agent to Haga Basin, right? He takes his agent to Haga Basin, and he gains 2 spice, but while he's gaining 2 spice, since I have a spy there, I gain 1 spice of my own. Right, it's very good early on if you think that somebody's going to go into Imperial Basin, Haga Basin, especially with early lines with people are going to go to Haga Basin for the early 3 spice to maybe buy like a tech or just go to refinery or something. But yeah, so Smuggle Spice is so good, and actually RL will get into exactly like around how much spice people can generate through this ability. The next thing that about Staban is Unseen Network, right? It's a signaling ability, and he just generates a spy. But depending on where you place that spy, you get different effects. So if you place that spy on a green space, that means you can convert 1 spice into 3 Solari, right? So anytime you put a spy on like Swordmaster, or anytime you put a spy on another, like, what is it, Gather Support, Assembly Hall, then you have the ability to convert 1 spice into 3 Solari, right? And we'll get into like the specifics of why 3 Solari is important and so on. And the other ability is a more of a late game ability, right? If you have since Saban's Ring has a spy generation, you can take one of your spies and put them on a faction space, if it's open, that is. And if it's open, you can spend 2 Solari for an intrigue. Could be useful for multiple reasons, but that is like the overall arching theme of Staban, right? He has a spy generation, but he lacks his diplomacy. And with that, I think we'll get right into it in terms of what Staban does. So the first thing that we want to talk about is position for Staban. So Arl, why don't you talk us through what position is best for Staban?
Yeah, so in my opinion, the earlier positions are better for Staban, mainly first and second,
Okay.
because Staban on third and fourth position can be blocked. So yeah,
Okay.
as I mentioned, Staban has only a single access to factions via Seek Allies. So the spaces where he is going is mostly like blue and maybe some triangular spaces. So yeah, if people go to these spaces, when they block like Spice Refinery, when they block deserts, Staban can be really bad. So especially in the opening. So that's why I think that playing him on the first or second position is better, because Staban has a number of interesting openings that he can execute because of his ring and resource generation with this ring. So yeah, on the first or second position, it's much harder to block you. On later position, it's easier to block. So that's maybe I would say early positions. Yeah.
Okay, so first and second position is probably the best for Staban. I'm not a big Staban player, so RL, I'm glad to have RL on the show here to talk about one of the probably the most is probably one of the best leaders, and according like at least on in the community version, he is I think maybe the best or second best behind like Beast. Anyways, yeah, you heard it here. At least RL, from his experience in Staban, has said like first and second position are really good for Staban, and his reasoning was that you can't get blocked, right? So what are the lines for Staban that could get blocked? Why don't you talk about that, RL?
Yeah, so most of the lines of Staban, they depend on the use of the ring, and it's really
Okay.
important whether you have it in the first round. I know, because yeah, I want to talk a bit about Staban ring. In my opinion, and I think not only mine, it's the strongest ring in the game. That's why
Yeah.
Staban has this kind of short back of not having diplomacy, because he has like the best ring in the game. And the main thing of this ring is that placing it to green spaces allow you to convert one spice into 3 Solari, and it basically almost give you like one extra turn to refinery to some extent, because so the Solari is really important in Bloodlines, and the way that you can go with your ring to any other space other than Spice Refinery and place Spy there, or you can go Spice Refinery and let's say get seven Solari on the same round. It's actually huge. So yeah, if we talk about opening, I think most of the openings they rely on going to Haga Basin, like maybe first action. Yeah, and yeah, you of course you spend this water, get 2 spice, but these 2 spice, Staban can do like lots of stuff with because of his ring, for example. So he can play ring to this desert and place spice somewhere on the green and get like 1 spice and 3 Solari, and he can use the Solari to buy early Sardaukar. And we will talk about Sardaukar later, but some of them are really worth to fight for early. Yeah, and so I would say most of the openings they require getting some spice as soon as possible. That's why
Okay.
like when someone
I'll
blocks
quickly
it
go
becomes
over like a visual of what RL is talking about. So assuming let's say I'm currently sitting in 4th position, but assuming I was in 1st or 2nd position where RL prefers Staban, he's saying like say of a random 5 cards that you draw, let's see, it's just 5. He's saying okay, so this is my draw RL. So you're saying like suggesting round 1 I take my Signet Ring, assuming Haga Basin isn't blocked. I can play my Signet Ring to Haga Basin. I'll start with 0 spice, 0 Solari, whatever, and 1 water. I can take an agent to Haga Basin, spend a water, gain 2 spice, and then instantly play my ring. Let's just assume that these are my hand. This is my hand. This is my play. So I play my ring. I can instantly pick up as 2 spice, gain 3 Solari because I put a spy on green. So which one's better? RL, is it the Swordmaster space better or the Gather Support space better for Staban? Which one is better?
I would say right place, like assembly hall, is better early on. But
Okay.
if there is Mohaim in the game, I prefer the middle spy, because Mohaim has free spy on the green, and if you don't place your spy there, you'll be blocked. So yeah, of course, like from assembly hall spy you can get like more persuasion, or you can go there like and buy Sardaukar or cycle your deck, but because like the middle spy maybe will not be used for some time. But yeah, if you can get blocked on this middle spy, it's better to take it early, because it's really important to have the spy over there.
Yeah. Okay. So what he's saying is early game, assembly hall and Gather Support are much better because of the persuasion purposes, right, RL? Like assembly hall gives you big cards, or can give you a lot of persuasion, and recalling the spy will also generate more persuasion, which allows you to buy cards. And then Gather Support also, same thing. You're gonna have so much Solari, which you can actually go to Gather Support, and if the commander exists, you can buy the commander and get some more value of your commanders, right? Having the spy early on with over here can be useful if you are fighting against if you're playing against like a Mahayam, because Mahayam does have the ability to generate spies on green. So if you get blocked on green here, so if you get blocked on green, it can be pretty bad. It can be a rough game for you. So if you are playing against Mohaim, just put your first spy over here and don't worry about it for the rest of the game, because this spy is gonna stay here. Anyways, Okay, so all right, let's continue. So let's say this is my opening hand, right? These 5 cards are my opening hand. I'm gonna first take my action here. I'm gonna go to Hog a Basin. I'm gonna convert into 3 spice. And what? So if I have my Seek Allies, do I play my Seek Allies, or do I still go to like Assembly Hall or gather support and buy a commander? What are your thoughts on playing the Seek Allies second, or just what's the
Yeah,
next action?
if you are not blocked on both Emperor and Spacing, it's really
Okay.
good to go and get the commander. I think that going Emperor would be preferable because
Okay.
for Staban it's really hard to get influence, and if I were to choose the faction where he reaches friendship, I would definitely choose Emperor because
Okay.
of privilege, and also going to Emperor, you also pick a contract, which gives you quite often gives you some early resources. So yeah, if I can go there, yeah, I would prefer going Emperor with contract. But yeah, if it's blocked, going Spacing, great. If both of them blocked, going Assembly or a Gazer support might be good if there is a driven Sardaukar. Sardaukar is really important for Staban. And one thing I would like to talk about this first move, when you generate some Solari, you can actually deploy 2 troops no matter
Okay.
what is the conflict, because like let's say in the worst case scenario, everyone deploys more and beats you, and you get nothing from the conflict, and you are only left with one troop in the guard zone. But the catch is that if you are left with 1 troop in guard zone and you buy Sardaukar this first round, on the second round you'll basically have a troop and a Sardaukar in your guard zone, and everyone else will have at most 1 troop. And depending on the conflict, they might not buy Sardaukar or whatever. So I would say that sacrificing 2 troops might be a case. So you basically raise the bar of the conflict, and people need, if someone decides to beat you, they will have to put much more troops. And given that you buy Sardaukar, or if you go Gaze support and you buy Sardaukar into troops, you'll be in better position to start the conflict too. So yeah, I would say that going there and deploying 2 troops is pretty decent. Yeah, and also if we look, So I will be mostly focusing on Sardaukar, on Staban playing Sardaukars, because in my
Okay.
opinion it's the best strategy. And good thing about this ring of giving you 3 Solari is that there are two favorable outcomes. So if you look into second and third conflicts, they have 2 outcomes. They award you only 1 coin, and if you already have 3 coins, it will get you to 4, which means you could basically buy 2 starter cards early on. So if you look at these conflicts, you see that there are lots of outcomes that allows you to buy an extra starter card, and it will allow to start your starter card engine much faster. Not to mention that starting round 2, every time you deploy Sardaukar, it will have 2 skills, so it will be
Yeah.
more value and everything. So yeah, I would say that that's the opening line of getting some Savari early on, so you can ramp up your Sardaukar game. Yeah.
Yeah, I think that was very well said. I think he's basically saying once if you start with your opening ring, or you start with the ring in your opening hand, just go to Hog a Basin. You lose out in the water, but it's fine because this water is gonna convert into spice and Solari. And what Arl is saying that is that if you guys pick up commanders early on with your Solari, what you can do is actually use those commanders in the combat, and that water that you spent early on just to get 2 spice is going to convert into maybe into more resources. If you pick up a driven commander, we'll talk driven. This is what driven is. If you pick up hardy, if you pick up charismatic, it's going to convert into persuasion, and that water is going to be way more useful as spice than early game than it was as a water. But yeah, I think Arlo is mainly just focusing on the fact that commanders are super important to Staban, and he's saying go to Hog a Basin and always put in 2, because worst case scenario, everybody over deploys, right, and then they go over the top, and they just, what, you're the only one with a commander next round, so you're gonna be in a position to fight next combat while everybody else is not gonna have a garrison. And best case scenario, you end up with something like a first place, like an Ornithopter. You end up with some extra Solari, extra resources, extra bumps. Influence is always important for Staban, so if you win this one, could be useful. Right, it's always just very good to deploy in 2, because you can always go gather support and replenish your troops instantly. But yeah, I think that was very well said, RL. But the opening line you would say is probably hog a basin with your signal ring. But what if you don't have your signal ring? What if you don't start with signal ring? Would you suggest going to say like say you have like another fifth card, right? Say it's like a Dune. What if it's something like this? Would you still suggest going to hog a basin first action?
Yeah, so going to I would still definitely consider going to Haga Basin with a Dune
Okay.
because you know that you will have two spies next round. So next round, for example, you can go refinery and trade these two spies for 7 Solari, which will be like a huge Solari boost. And also it allows and also your opponents will not know like your opponents will not know whether you have your ring or not. So let's say you just went and like for two spies, you did some deploy, whatever, and then someone, let's say, goes refinery because they need these 2 coins for some, I know, good Sardaukar.
Okay.
And let's say you had your ring. I think yeah, that's one of the line I had playing against Dino when he went for this when you went for this refinery, wanting to buy Driven Commander, but I had my ring, so I just second action I just went to one of the green spaces. I traded this spice I got for the Solari and bought Sardaukar right away. So you basically can block someone trying to do it. Or for example, if a refinery is left open and you have your ring, you can go and get these 7 coins like first round, which is crazy. So you can start with some high console with Sardaukar next round, whatever, which also makes sense. But even though that even if you don't have the ring, get into spice might be really good because for 2 spice you can sometimes buy ring tech, which is insane on Staban. Or next round you have like more flexibility. And also, like the last thing is your opponents will less likely go to Haga next round, so they will have less spice, and yeah, you will have maybe like better start of the game.
Yeah, I think that was well said. He's basically reiterating the fact that it doesn't matter if you have a signal ring or not. Just go to Haga Basin, because even if you don't have your signal ring this round to convert it to Solari to pick up a commander, you can always just play your signal ring next round. If you see Spice Refinery, you can go to Spice Refinery with your signal ring. You can instantly spend 1 spice for 4 Solari on Spice Refinery, and then put a spy on green, which is gonna then allow you to spend 1 more spice for another 3 Solari. And RL is suggesting that after you do that play, now you have an insane Solari boost, right? This is allowing you to go to High Council, buy a commander. This is allowing you future commanders on Gather Support. You could even use this to even buy 3 commanders of your own, right? There's so much value in 7 Solari by round 2 that just the early Haga Basin to convert into 7 Solari is just absolutely nutty work. But yeah, that's what RL's saying. He's saying like just go Haga Basin and it doesn't matter. So what if RL you get blocked on Haga, right? And say there's no Esmar in the game. Let's get rid of Esmar. What if you get blocked on Haga? What's the next plan?
Yeah, so of course you can go to the Imperial and just get 1 spice and maybe also trade it for Solari. But the problem is it leaves you with 0 spice, and with Staban, it's really good to always have some spice, because like if you have your ring, trading 1 spice with 3 Solari and placing a spy on green is like extremely valuable thing. So that's one thing. But another thing is that you can take benefit of your passive ability. Let's say you don't want to go to this Imperial Basin, you can go to Spice Refinery with your ring and place your spy on Imperial Basin. So basically that will give you 2 Solari to buy this Sardaukar. And yeah, it will also place a spy on the Imperial, which will probably gives you like 1 spice, because maybe next round someone will go there. And and Staban really loves placing spies on both the deserts, because they can generate insane value around like through the game. So if you play some spies early on, you can get like around like 3 to 5 free spies early game. And also it affects the decisions of other players, because they might not want to go there to give you spies, and but maybe they need spies or something like that. So I really like it. It's another alternative. So yeah, you can usually you prefer placing your spy and trading one spice to 3 Solari, but in some cases you can place some early spice on desert and farm spice this way.
Yeah. I was just saying, like, it's always good to have 1 spice, always extra. There's always good to have extra spices spawn, because you don't want to ever be in a position where you can't trade for 1 spice for 3 Solari, right? And 3 Solari is obviously very good, even if it's early game. middle game, late game, it's always good. But he says like if you get blocked on Haga, right? Because there's you're playing against like a beast, you're playing against Coda, and they really want to go for a they want to start spice harvesting, and they want to go for like a specific line to buy like a tech or something, right? And they want to go Haga instead, so you get blocked on Haga. So the other option is, as RL said, go to Imperial Basin and convert your spice into Solari, and maybe get like a commander depending on what the skills are. Or the other option is ignore the spice, just go, and if you see Spice Refinery, you can go to Spice Refinery, just get 2 Solari, and then instantly put your spy on, say, like Imperial Basin or Haga Basin, right? One or the other. I don't know where my other spy went. It's on here. You just put, which one is better early game? Like if it's round 1, right, and you say you get blocked on Haga, I assume you'd probably put your spy on Imperial?
Yeah, of course. If you got blocked on Haga, no need to put spice there because it will not generate Solari for at least one more round, I would say. Okay. So yeah, it's always Imperial spy. Yeah.
Okay, so if you get blocked on Haga, you go to Spice Refinery, put a spy on Imperial Basin, and then on round 2, somebody's probably going to go there, right? I mean, it's 2 spies on Imperial Basin. It can be tempting, especially depending on the tech row, depending on how valuable espionage is, or just like a lot of things that people really want. So the spice is also really good to go to Spice Refinery to convert into 4 Solari, because again, as we said, 4 Solari is super important. But yeah. So if you guys get blocked on Haga, ideally the opening line should just be going to Haga Basin, and then use your Signal Ring if you have it to buy commanders. If you don't have it, that's fine. Just play it next round to either Refinery or even to gather support or something to pick up commanders anyways. And the other option is Refinery into Haga. Yeah, and if you guys see your Seek allies, then your Seek allies, as RL said, should probably be going to Emperor early on, because you want to try to get the Emperor faction, or you want to try to get the Emperor friendship as soon as possible, because then it unlocks you privilege access, right? Privilege access is super good for Staban because, first of all, he's going to be placing a spy on green, right? So you don't want to. I feel like if you are going to be placing the spy on green, you might as well be going to one of these spaces, right? And privilege is the easiest one to go to. Swordmaster is like a one-time thing, and it's not going to be early. You're not going to be going there early on. High Council, it's like a one-time thing. Occasionally, you can go there. You can revisit for the second time and pick up some troops. But it's not going to be early. It's not going to be like as easy to do it, right? At least if you have privilege access, playing your daggers to privilege to cycle at least with the second spy, just getting you more persuasion, picking up more card draw, giving you delayed actions in the combat always feels good. Again, going to this dutiful service also can generate you Solari depending on what the contracts are, right? And we'll talk about the contracts in a bit too. But I think that should be it for the opening lines, right? RL, that should be like the Haga Basin should be your first action, and then second action. I mean, Haga Basin with your Signal Ring should be first action, and then if Dutiful and Delivers open, then go there with your Seek allies. Otherwise, just play your Haga Basin, just go Dune with your Haga Basin, and then play your Signal Ring to gather support or Assembly Hall to maybe like sneak away a commander skill from one of the other players who's just gone to Spice Refinery to pick up that juicy skill. Yeah. I think, and then the other option is go to Spice Refinery yourself and put a spy on Haga Basin or Imperial Basin because somebody else is going to go there because of the Staban Smuggle Spice ability. So whenever another player sends an agent to a maker board space that you're spying on, for example, Imperial Basin, if you have a spy there and say RL goes there, then I gain a spice. And again, that spice is good for the Unseen Network ability, right? The 1 spice for 3 Solari. Think about it like this: every time somebody goes to Imperial Basin, or every time they go to maker board space that you're spying on, you're getting 3 Solari, which is basically a commander, right? Again, very good. Anyways, I think that should be it. Or unless, do you want to bring up anything else that maybe I forgot to mention?
Yeah. So I would talk about like one specific line. So yeah, okay. As I mentioned, usually you spend your Seek allies, like your one-time diplomacy, for going to some of the Emperor or Space and buying Sardaukar. But there is also one alternative line when you go first action to the Desert Tactics with your Seek allies. So let's say you indeed go this hand we're talking about. So if you go to Desert Tactics first action and trash your dagger, and then you go with your ring. Which hand are we talking
about? This one or this one?
This one we have from the blue one. So yeah, let's say you go to Desert Tactics and you trash your dagger, and then with your ring you go to Imperial Basin and get the spice or some other line, like Refinery or whatever. So good thing about this line, is that after trashing your dagger and trashing your Seek allies, you're left with just 7 card deck. And as you have like only 2 persuasion, you most likely buy Prepare the Way. So you end up with a deck in which you will have 1 dagger, 3 2-cost cards, and 4 1-cost card. And let's say, you also have this spy on assembly. So the next round, when you will have your second dagger, you can go to assembly with recall, and you will have like lots of persuasion because of that. So if there is some 7 or 8 coster,
Okay.
Staban, like using this line, he can really almost guarantee buying this 8 coster. And let's say that if you were allowed to go first Desert Tactics and then Imperial, so you have like 3 coins to buy Sardaukar, you can buy the charismatic Sardaukar, and it will like almost guarantee you buying an 8 coster. So this is one line when you trash the dagger, you end up with like 8 card deck, and you also buy some really good 7 or 8 coster second round, and you end up with really slim deck, extremely powerful ring, and also powerful card, which can also be the case. So yeah, I think I would sometimes playing these lines, or some of the good players play this line against me, so I notice that it's worth mentioning.
Okay. Yeah. Just to reiterate what Arl said is that if you guys see like a big card on the row, right, like a Searsman or like an Overthrow or just any 7 or 8 coster, right, Staban basically nearly can guarantee himself to buy that card with this specific hand, right? Not even this specific hand. It's just something like this, right? Some sort of combination of this, right? What Staban is going to be doing is first action he's going to go to Desert Tactics, right? He's going to instantly place Seek Allies, trash it. Right, he's gonna trash his dagger. So now he's gotten right down to a 4. He's gone to a 7 card deck, right? He's gone down to a 7 card deck because he already does not have his diplomacy. And second action, just play your regular ring if you have it to Imperial Basin, because you have no water. So just go to Imperial Basin, pick up 3 Solari, right? So which can be useful to buy a commander at like. Because you're assuming you're going to put the spy on green, you can use that Solari to buy a commander on Gather Support. You can buy that commander on Assembly Hall, but you can just buy a commander in general, right? And then on your reveal turn, since you're going to be revealing hopefully at least 2, right? Even if it's not one of these and it's like a convincing or something, right? Right, you're going to have like at least 2 or 3 persuasion. Just pick up a Prepare the Way, right? You buy Prepare the Way, and now you're going to be in like your whole deck is just 8 cards, and like 1, 2, 3, 4. It's an 8 card deck with 2 convincings and a Prepare the Way, right? So this is almost nearly gonna guarantee yourself. Like, you're gonna be guaranteed to get an 8 coster very early on. All you have to do is just like as long as you draw like average, even if you draw your dagger, you can just take, since you have a spy on Assembly Hall, you can just take your dagger to Assembly Hall, recall the spy. So say we play that specific line, right? And then we had something like this. We had something, I guess, for demonstration purposes, let's just keep it like a 3 persuasion, right? Let's say we went to Desert Tactics, we trashed, we deployed in troops or whatever. Let's assume that everybody else over deployed, right? And then we get nothing from the combat. Even that's fine, right? We get nothing from the combat, that's okay. Because now we still have 3 Solari. This should be our hand. So now we're gonna be drawing into our next couple of cards. We have 4 cards to buy, and then we're gonna be drawing 1 more card. Oops, sorry. There we go. So now this is our hand. As you can see already within this hand, this is at least 5 persuasion. If you're going to bring any sort of 2 cards, just make sure you reveal your convincings and your recon, or just make sure you reveal your convincing and your Prepare the Way. You can play whatever else you want, but your first action, you can just take your dagger to Assembly Hall and recall a spy, right? Oh, sorry. Let's just say where's my agents? Or 1 agent here. 1 agent here. I can just take an agent to Assembly Hall, recall the spy, draw a card, and pick up another persuasion. And as you can see, just with that, I have 2, 4, 6, 7, 8. I have 9 persuasion. This is a Spice Must Flow round 2. And if you think that somebody else can purchase a Steersman on round 2, just early reveal. You've taken 1 action to get to 9 persuasion. Just early reveal, because you have 9. You're playing at what? 8 card deck, right? You're playing an 8 card deck with one of the cards being your Signal Ring, and as RL said, Staban's Signal Ring is one of the strongest, if not the strongest Signal Ring in the game. So now your Signal Ring becomes a power card, And then you just pick up Steersman. Now you have another power card. You just keep seeing these two cards over and over again. This one's good for resource generation. This one's good for action generation, right? Or like even Overthrow. Overthrow gets you the action bumps that Staban lacks with limited allies bump. So you're gonna be seeing your Overthrow. You're gonna be seeing your Steersman every round effectively because it's gonna be in like a 9-card deck, and it just feels super strong. So he said that if you guys do see like like an 8 or 9 coster on the row, so not 9 coster, but an 8 coster or a 7 coster on the row, think about going to Desert Tactics as Staban and just give up on like the Haga Basin line because you have a very good chance to hit 8 or 7 persuasion by round 2. But yeah, thank you all. That was a really good analysis. I didn't even think about that specific line until you mentioned it, but I think that was really insightful to both me and like the viewers. So thank you for that. Is there anything else you want to mention, or like a specific line in terms of like opening theory?
No, I think it covers most of it.
Okay. I think one thing we do have to mention in opening theory is combat, right? Because you said always deploying 2 troops, right? Since you're deploying 2 troops in, what combat is like really good for Staban? So these are the 4 combats that can show up in Uprising plus Bloodlines. So what is the best, combat to what is ideal for Staban, and what should he be aiming to place, if possible?
I would say get in 3rd place when you get 2 coins. You have 2 conflicts for that. Would be really huge because it's like another Sardaukar you can buy with that. So these are probably the best outcomes. I would almost always trade 2 troops for that. It's like awesome outcome. And maybe I will return my word. Maybe for first combat I might deploy 1 because Spice early is not that good as Solari. So maybe like for the first combat I will only deploy 1, but for 3 other combats I would probably deploy 2, because if you get 2 coin, or even if you get like 1 coin and you got your ring, so you have 3 coins, it gives you like 4 coins to buy 2 Sardaukars, which is big. So I would mostly aim on getting more Solari for early Sardaukars, or maybe not Sardaukars but High Council or Swordmaster, because of this crazy Solari generation ability with the ring. Staban is usually like the first to sit into High Council and get Swordmaster like after that.
That was good. I like how you explained that Solari is super valuable. Even if you are going to be generating Solari with your Signet Ring, right? Having extra Solari never hurts, right? Maybe that extra Solari is useful for, as RL said, another commander. Could be useful for maybe High Council. And RL said, like, if it's any of these 3 combats, right? Make sure to just deploy 2, right? Because best case scenario, you get like 3rd or 2nd, right? You pick up 2nd and you get like the extra Solari. Oh, in this case, you pick up 1 more Solari, which again is good because your Signet Ring is going to be generating 3 Solari. This gives you that extra Solari to put you back to the 4th Solari, which is again good for that even number to get like commanders, to pick up Swordmaster. Just overall very good. So if you pick up Solari in any of these 2 combats, it's very good. This one can be a little bit challenging because sometimes people are aiming to get 2nd place in this combat for the Solari. So you're going to be deploying 2 troops in, but sometimes you're going to get over deployed. People are going to be over deploying to aim for this 2nd place because of the same reason, right? Sardaukars are so important. Solari is so important. And as I said, like this combat, Spice early on isn't actually that much more valuable than Solari. So if you see this combat and like unless you really want to fight for this combat because it's your match, just get like put 1 troop in. Best case scenario you get 3rd. Worst case scenario, you make other people deploy more. Right. So what are your thoughts on what are your thoughts on getting the match early? So say, there's only 2. Actually, there's 3 combats, right? That could show up. What are your thoughts on say going to like playing the Desert Tactics line and deploying 3 troops in at Desert Tactics to get your match, whether it's Mouse or Chris Knife, depending on whatever your starting is. Is that a viable option?
For Mouse, it's always a viable option because Mouse gives you money for Sardaukar. So if you deploy 3 troops and win it, you get like 1 troop in garrison, but also money for Sardaukar. So for Mouse, it's always an option. Okay. I would say like middle conflict is also good because if you went to Desert Tactics, you trash 1 dagger. With the trash, you can also trash another card. So you basically like trashed 3 cards starting round 1, and you end up with 6 card deck. So you will basically see your ring almost every round. Actually, I had a crazy game when I played my ring 7 times in 7 rounds. It was a crazy game. The opponent,
Was it this
yeah, the
combat?
opponents were not sure about these combats, but they were like maybe some lucky draws or something else. But my opponents were not happy. But yeah, I played my ring every single turn. It ended
Yeah.
round 7 with like 13 points or something like that.
Yeah, it must be annoying to see somebody print 3 Solari every action. Yeah, I
Yeah,
can assume that your opponents must be very angry about that. But I
yeah.
mean, congrats on that game. But yeah, so all I was saying, like, if you guys go to Desert Tactics and play for like the 8 coster early on, putting 3 troops in for this mouse combat, assuming it's your match, is always good. Because the 2 Solari is good for the commanders, because you can go to gather support and replenish your troops pretty easily, right? Maybe you'll pick up another commander. But what about the Chris Knife? Say you're starting with the Chris Knife ones, and you say and there's an 8 coster, right? And somebody wants to go pick up this 8 coster, like a steersman. So they do like the line you said, like, go to Desert Tactics and then go play with the Signet Ring to hog a Imperial Basin. How many troops should they deploy if they're gonna take that line? If assuming this is
Well,
also their match, like they have a Chris Knife match.
yeah, with a Desert Decline, it's really good match because you can get like second Fremont influence and maybe try
Okay.
to get some hooks and worms. So yeah, it will be really good if you can if you can do it. But overall, there might be some other leader who might try to fight for it, and some of them might be better suited for combat, like I know Gurney or Duncan or whatever. So it's kind of tricky because if you deploy a
Okay.
lot of troops and you get nothing, and it will be like pretty hard to recover from that. So yeah, this combat is much trickier. Yeah,
Okay.
but again, if you don't have your ring in the first hand, getting into this combat maybe just for some spice might be a viable option because again you can go with your ring to the green space next round and train the spice for Solari and buy the Sardaukar and replenish your garrison. So it's worth considering, but yeah, it's much trickier combat because it seems that a match and a bump is a lot in the starting
Yeah.
game, but I would say resources are more important, and it might be a trap that you get your match and your friendship, but your opponents have much better economy, and yeah.
Yeah. So I was saying, like, if it's one of these 2 combats, you can end up like hyper trashing with, like, you get rid of both daggers or like a Dune and a dagger, and you can be seeing like a 6 card deck where you end up seeing your ring every round. If you win this combat, it's a match. It's 2 Solari again. Even if you have deployed all your troops in, it's fine because you can just go gather support, pick up commander, right? This one is he's saying it's a little bit tricky because there's other leaders that might be a little bit more suited to try to win this combat, right? One of those can be Beast, right? Beast really likes the bumps because he wants to pick up an alliance as soon as possible so that his ring can generate 2 troops for the rest of the game, right? So if you end up deploying into this combat and get nothing and get anything but first in this combat, now you're in a really big hole because getting only 1 spice in a troop or 1 spice in an intrigue, if that intrigue isn't like is something insane, you're going to be left with like 1 troop in your garrison at best, and you're not going to have much value for the rest of the game. It's going to be pretty hard for you to come back from this deficit of this loss. So if you have the Chris Knife match and you are aiming to maybe go for first, make sure you're not playing against like a Duncan or like a Beast or a Gurney Halleck who can easily go over the top of you with like a simple Arakeen deploy or like a I don't know, Desert Tactics. I mean, assuming you're going to go to Desert Tactics, but Arakeen easily, right? Duncan can just go Arakeen, deploy in 3 troops, put his Signet Ring in, right? Same thing with Gurney Halleck, right? All their Signet Ring abilities generate troops and combat strength. So you can easily get over deployed, and it can be really bad if you end up going fighting for it and then not getting anything out of it, or not getting first out of it. So this one's a little bit tricky, but if you guys ever it's never bad to over deploy on this combat because you always just get the 2 Solari, which is good for commanders, and you can always replenish your troops, add gather support. You get the 2 troops, pick up the commander, and you're back and ready for the next combat. But yeah, I think that should be it in terms of like the early combat and like the opening lines. Yeah, I think we're ready to move on, right, RL?
Yeah, let's move on.
Okay. The next thing that we want to talk about is like, since you're going to be playing Staban, right? And Staban has this deficit in a way of limited allies. You start the game without a diplomacy in your deck. So what should you be looking to buy? Because I mean, you are playing with a 9-card deck effectively, or an 8-card deck because you're going to be trashing your Seek allies. So what should you be looking to buy? So let's move the Steersman back up to where it belongs. Believe it was like up here. So I guess let's start with the first section here. These specific cards, right? So I have like why don't you talk us through like the spy on buy, spy access, spy generation, and just like give us like a reasoning of why this card is specifically good for Staban.
Yeah, sure. So we'll start with these two cards that give you spy on buy, and they are like really good because let's say no one went Imperial Basin round one. If you buy any of these cards, you can put your spy on the Imperial Basin, and most likely next round you'll get some value from it because someone will go there, or you can go there and get 2 spies and a card because you recall your spy. So these two cards are really nice. Also, in Staban, I usually have quite many spies, so the passive abilities on the reveal of both of these cards might be really nice. So maybe spy network is questionable because early on, I know pull in one spy because all your spies usually like serve some purpose. You will not like to pull your spies from the deserts because they generate some resources for you, and you would also like to keep your spies on green space. But in the late game, or maybe after the turn when someone went to the desert and you already got some spice from it, it's really good. Intelligent training is a much more like versatile card because it in addition to spy buying also get you spy and reveal, and generating 6 persuasion is really easy for Staban because he can sit high council second round or third round at most in most of the cases. So it's really good cards. And I would also add that getting a single dagger on reveal for each of these cards can really help you in some early combats when one dagger can make a huge difference. So these are two like really cheap cards. And Spy Network can be used in this line we talk about with Desert Tactics because it's basically the same persuasion as Prepare the Way, but it also gets like nice bonuses. And it allow you to buy some high persuasion cards. Yeah.
I like that analysis there. The spy on buy cards are very good early on because of the obviously spy network isn't as good because it has no access and Staban already lacks access, so you don't want to be in a hand where you have both convincing and the spy network. It can be a little bit annoying, but since you have a spy there, since you have a spy somewhere, you should be able to get out of that situation as long as you draw. But he's Arlo suggesting that with these extra spies early on that aren't going to be generating through your signet ring, you can put these spies on like desert spaces and wait for somebody to go to a desert space, pick up that extra spice because of Staban's smuggle spice ability, right? As we said, we're going to reiterate it again. It is whenever another player sends an agent to a maker board space that you're spying on, you pick up another spice. So you can use that spy that you get from Spy Network or from intelligence training and just instantly put it on like Imperial Basin, assuming nobody's gone to round 1, or just put it on Haga Basin because Haga Basin is a premium spot on round 2 because everybody loves 3 spice for Haga Basin to maybe buy techs and stuff. So if you put this extra spy here, you just get like an extra spice for the rest of for that round, which maybe would be useful for like a signet ring play for more Solari, right? And I was also saying that late game, Spy Network can become an intrigue generation, right? Early game, you probably should keep your spies on the board unless somebody has just gone to that desert space and given you the spice already. So then you don't need that spy anymore. So you can recall it with Spy Network. But same thing with intelligence training, right? You can also generate more spies with intelligence training and put that spy on Haga Basin or Imperial Basin. Sometimes even Deep Desert if somebody's planning on going to Deep Desert for that round. And that one spice could be the difference between you buying like a really good tech versus not buying a good tech, right? So you need to make sure that your spy placements, that's what makes Staban a hard leader, is you need to make sure that your spy placements are spot on. If you can get your spy placements like perfect every time, he's super easy to play and he's super fun to play and actually probably one of the best leaders to play. So I guess that should be it for spy on buy. You get cards, you put these spies. Same thing in up places. This one, forgot to mention it, but any sort of spy on buy here, very good. I mean, Guild Spy, although it has been removed for the community version, if you guys are playing the normal Uprising and Bloodlines version, you can pick up Guild Spy, and although with Guild Spy, do not put the spy on like a basin space, please put that spy on like a faction space, because that's the whole point of Guild Spy. Anyways, we're not going to talk more about that. But yeah, if you get a spy early on, just put it on like one of the basin spaces, because it gives you extra spice. Again, as we said, extra spice is useful for your signet ring because it gets you extra Solari, which is good for High Council, for commanders. And yeah, as Aral was saying, you can easily get, like, once you have that High Council play, your spy networks basically become like convincing arguments, and you get that 2 persuasion and that extra dagger. He was also mentioning picking up these cards for the extra dagger might be relevant, because if you are going to be playing like a tactics line to trash one of your daggers, sometimes having this extra dagger as like a surprise factor, because people aren't going to be deck tracking intelligence training or spy networks, so they forget about these extra daggers, and that can really like change the difference between you getting like third in the combat versus getting second in the combat. But yeah, same thing in Innight Places. Innight Places, it's a good card to purchase for the spy, which should probably go on like a basin space. And then on reveal, you can always recall those spies for extra persuasion for like a big card or like a Spiceman slow. But I think that should be it for spy on buy. Let's go on to the next section, spy access section. Why don't you get us started on like the spy access section, and why is this important for Staban?
This probably should we stay a little bit out? It doesn't have this spy access, but yeah, with Staban, the problem is that you don't have diplomacy. You don't have diplomacy, so you either need to buy some faction spaces to get your bombs, or you can also do it via a spy access card, because with Staban it's much easier to place spies. And also, if you get some money, you can buy an intrigue for 2 coins when you go with your ring, as we mentioned at the beginning of the video. So all of these cards, they are like really decent for Staban because they allow you to compensate for this lack of diplomacy. Like the first card is also like generates the resources. Let's say you spend your sick allies, to go to the Emperor, and then you somehow placed a spy there and go there like with wheels. Then you will have your second influence, and you already get like 2 coins. So you can either buy Sardaukar or you can do something else. So it's really good card. All other cards are also nice because 2 of them allow you to trash your cards. And as I mentioned, if you trash your cards, you end up with really slim deck with really good ring, which is great. And also Imperial Spy Master is a good card because it has both a Spy access and Emperor access, which as we discussed is really good for Staban. And yeah, every time you recall your spy, you get an intrigue, which is nice boost, and also might be even better with some text like Subterfuge we'll talk about next. And one card was honorable mention is Undercover Asset, because it allows you to ignore this faction requirements. It's really, really crazy for Staban because for him it's really hard to get this second faction point. So this card can get you hooks and maybe like allow you to go to early shipping or whatever. And also on reveal, this card allows you to either boost your combat power or get a spy. And as we know, the spies are really good for Staban. So yeah, it's really crazy card for Staban.
Yeah, but this card would actually fall into both categories, like the spy generation and the combat effect, or just having that like this whole section is just like about counteracting that limited allies ability, right? So Undercover Asset is a fantastic card to counteract that ability because since you're not going to be getting 2 friendships, or you're not going to be getting to your friendships because you only have 1 access, and you're going to be trashing that access after you play it. This allows you to instantly pick up hooks, shipping, or gold privilege. And yeah, as I said, these cards are also really good for like spy access because, again, to counteract the limited allies ability. If you have a spy on like like Emperor card, so you have a spy on the Emperor space, you can take a card like Wheels on Wheels, Imperial Spy Master, 11 allies, and pick up your second friendship to allow you access to privilege for the rest of the game. And overall, I mean, if you pick up Wheels and you have Emperor, then you can use, as Arl said, you can pick up Solari for more commanders, High Council, and whatnot. So yeah, I think that was really good, Harl. Anything else you want to mention for spy access cards?
I would say that all of this faction, all of these cards has Emperor and the type of the card. So yeah, every time, like there are many times when you trash Emperor card to gain some benefit from it. For example, with Calculus, you can trash another Emperor card and get some swords. And so yeah, like you see, like all these cards are Emperor cards. So yeah, you can trade them for some extra benefits with Calculus or some other cards, and yeah, it also might make sense.
Yeah, as you can see, actually, literally every single card in this whole section up here for the Spy on Buy and Spy Access is an Emperor tag. So if you get some Emperor synergy with like, well, one mention is for even like Sardaukar Coordination, right? I'll put up a screenshot of Sardaukar Coordination. But that card, if you get that card and you pick up some of these Emperor synergizing cards like Calculus of Power, Undercover Assets, Eliminate Allies, any of these Emperor cards, it's gonna be super nice for you because now you become a combat threat along with also having the spy access. Oh yeah, elite forces out there, it's another emperor card, which is good. Just overall, just make sure you buy cards that have access, not only just buy access but have access to emperor, because you are going to be going to that emperor space because you want to get to privilege as soon as possible, because then you can actually use your swordmaster spy or that privilege spy to actually do more things than just be a Solari generator. But yeah, and also as I said, some of these Emperor cards allow you to trash. Actually, a lot. I mean, there's 3 cards on this, like just from these 6 that you've pulled aside. There's 3 cards in here that actually allow you to trash. Eliminate Elite Forces allows you to trash a card from hand. Calculus Power allows you to trash. So, and as we know, once Saban already starts with an 8-card deck because he gets rid of his Seek Allies. So you're gonna be playing with an 8-card deck with one of these cards being Calculus Power. So as long as you pick up another nice card, even if it's like an average card like Wheels Within Wheels, but then you have both of the requirements met for Wheels and Wheels. You're gonna be seeing Wheels every round. You're gonna be seeing your Signet Ring every round. You're gonna be generating Solari like nothing. You can even possibly be generating Spice with Wheels every round, right? And that's just gonna be so it's gonna be so detrimental for your opponents because you're just gonna be there with so much resources, being able to buy everything at your disposal. So yeah, if you can slim out your deck and just keep seeing your ring every round, it just feels so good. And these Emperor cards allow you to do it, right? Along with Undercover Asset, like it's a pretty good card because it's it has spy access while also having the swords for combat. So yeah, if you pick up some Emperor synergy, you can be a pretty big combat threat while also having that access to those spy spaces like Emperor or wherever the factions that you need to get to. Yeah, I think that should be it for that in terms of spy access. Anything else you want to add on to RL?
No, that's pretty much it.
Oh, let me just quickly go find Sardaukar Coordination because I feel like that was pretty important. Sardaukar. Oh, sorry, Sardaukar. It's Sardaukar. Okay, yeah, this is Sardaukar Coordination. So imagine a case where you end up drawing like Sardaukar Coordination because it says this is a sword for every Emperor card you revealed, including this one. So Sardaukar Coordination already has a sword on it, but if you end up revealing it with like Undercover Asset, end up revealing with like Elite Forces, even cards that don't have swords on them, like in high places, since they have the Emperor tag on them, your Sardaukar Commander, Sardaukar Coordination effectively becomes 4 swords just from revealing these 3 cards, along with the sword that Elite Forces is going to provide, so that's 5 right there, and then Undercover Asset, you could take 2 more swords from there, 7, right? This becomes a combat strategy of its own if you just keep revealing Sardaukar Coordination. So, a worth of mention, if you end, because Staban is going to be picking up Emperor cards, or should be picking up Emperor cards because they're the ones that are going to have like spy access, and they're going to be the ones that are going to generate spies. So if you do end up picking up one of them and you end up seeing Sardaukar Coordination, you can always transition into a combat style gameplay with Staban. But yeah, I think that should be it for in terms of spy access, buying cards. Let's go to the next section here. Spice generation. So why did you put aside these 2 cards, RL? Why like specifically Southern Faith and Smuggler's Haven?
Yeah, so Smuggler's Haven is extremely good on Staban because you place your spy on deserts quite often, so it will generate you some extra spies when people go there. But if you add it you will also basically get 2 spies on reveal. It can result in crazy spice generation. Mm-hmm. So early in the game, you will be able to allow some good techs for you. And for Staban, buying good techs is also important because as you faction access, you need to get some gas somewhere else, and buying techs is one way. So this card can sponsor a lot of your tech buys. Another card, Southern Freeze, is quite easy to make work for Staban because he can go to High Council and get this extra persuasion to activate the command. And also, as you see that it has 2 swords. So it's also really good spice generation / also combats. And also in the late game, it might give you some bumps because you see that you get extra banner bump if you play it after banner card. So yeah, it's also like this problem with Staban. And Smuggler's Heaven can be used in late game to get this one extra victory point you might need to end game around 7 or whatever, or maybe to account for the friendship you don't have because you're Staban. So yeah, I think these cards are really good.
Yeah. So as Aura mentioned, these two cards are very good because this has the ability to get, since you're getting High Council early, you can generate spice with command, and then since you're going to be seeing Smuggler, and since you're already going to be spying on a maker board space because of, your Staban's ability to smuggle spice, you're going to get extra Solari on reveal, which, as Arl said, is going to be useful for text, and that's the next section we'll talk about after, after we go through the cards. We'll talk about the text and why these two cards can be so devastating with Staban. Since he already has a 9-card deck, he starts with a 9-card deck, and then he quickly goes down to 8 because of Seek Allies trash. You're gonna be seeing this card pretty often. So generating imagine generating 2 spice on reveal for the rest of the game, or maybe even generating it once every 2 turns. That still feels so strong. If you think about it in terms of overall spice generation, that could be 6 spice. Say you do this on round 4, round 5, and then round 7. That's 6 spice you've just generated from revealing this card, along with the persuasion and daggers that you're gonna get. But same thing with Smuggler's Haven. You're already gonna get spice from the smuggle spice ability of Staban, but then you're gonna get extra spice from just Smuggler's Haven. So the amount of spice generation that Staban can do with some cards like these is just absolutely insane. And I've seen games just be won on the fact that one of these two cards was bought by Staban. If they're both on Staban, then I think as a table you guys just have to commit just decide to forfeit the game, because both of them in the hands of Staban is really bad. But anyways, I think that should be it for the spice generation. Next, let's just go to the overall archetypes of when you are just playing the game. In terms of it's on these are great on Staban, but also they're great on in general for most leaders. But they're worth a mention. So why don't you get us through?
I'd like to talk about this card is that can give you extra coins, so you can basically get your Swordmaster or High Console much faster. And it's really crazy, right? Because let's say you played your ring to get 3 Solari, then you bought price is no object. On the second round, you already have 5 coins to go High Console, for example, and all other cards as well. So all these cards that can boost your Solari, they can let you, for example, result in you having both High Console and Swordmaster round 3. Which is extremely crazy, or maybe round 4, which is also pretty good, having both of them. So yeah, boosting your Solari is always really nice. And so these cards, they can help with that. And as you have a smallish deck, because you lack of diplomacy, you can pull your core in city more often than some other players. And also every time you pull it for 5 coins on reveal, it's crazy economy start. And,
5 coins on reveal with Corin City, 2 coins on reveal with Price is no object. Eventually, both of these cards can generate you a point itself, right? You can just acquire a Spice Missile and put it in your hand for 9 coins. You can just discard 2 cards and spend 5 Solari, which you're going to be generating from the card itself, right? This card is really strong because it generates the resource it needs to complete its victory point condition, which is fantastic, right? So one of these, if you have a 9-card deck or an 8-card deck, and you see one of these 2 cards, and you end up with a 10-card deck, you're gonna be seeing one of these 2 cards almost every other round, which is just so fantastic, right? The 2 Solari, extra 5 Solari, as RL mentioned, right? If you spend your ring early on, to get the 3 Solari with your ring, then buying Price an Object, you instantly get the 5 Solari, which allows you High Council and just can dominate the game so early on, right? Because High Council will allow you to buy even more cards that are more powerful, right? And say you end up trashing some cards at maybe Desert Tactics, or you pick up some Emperor cards that allow you to trash, you're gonna be seeing Price and Object a lot more, and whatever the strong card you've bought a lot more. Same thing, Bombast and Assassination Mission. These ones are a little bit more. They're just this one's just a one-time thing. They're both one-time things, right? It's once this card is trashed, you get the 4 Solari. This one, Bombast, is when you have 6 Persuasion, which is super easy because you're gonna be getting High Council super early, or that's what you should be targeting to do. because of Staban's Solari generation, right? Most combats in the round 1 combats do generate Solari, so you're going to probably pick up some sort of Solari from the combat, along with the Staban Spice generation, the Solari generation, which is going to put you up to at least 5, maybe 7 Solari, right? Maybe even take a trip to Refinery, and then, once you have High Council, because you're not going to have a diplomacy, so most of your actions are going to be going to, like, the city spaces, the dune spaces, and just going to green. So your first couple actions are probably just going to be very highly revolved around getting High Council. So yeah, once you have High Council, getting command off is pretty easy, and you get 3 more Solari on reveal, which is pretty good. But yeah, I think that should be it in terms of like Solari generation. And then next section is just like a Sardaukar section. Like just give us like a brief overview of like what the Sardaukar section here. Actually, while we're at the Sardaukar section, let's actually go through the skills while we're at it. So this one's so why don't you talk about like the why these cards can be useful for Staban?
So as I said, in my opinion, Staban has a very strong game based on Sardaukar. Maybe like the only other leader that can rival it is Hazimir.
Hazimir, okay.
Because Hazimir, and but Staban, because of this crazy Solari generation, can afford Sardaukar early on, and buying Sardaukar early, and also like in addition to not just buying a single Sardaukar, he can also buy like 2 Sardaukars. So quite often he can have like every time he has Sardaukar in the combat, it can be like at least 2 skills minimum, which is quite good. So all the cards that can facilitate it and make it better are really good for Staban. So that's like Sardaukar standard can get you like extra Sardaukar on trash. And then Quash Rebellion is also like similar to Solar. It also gives you Solari boost and also gives you some faction access, which are like always nice to have for Staban, because he doesn't have diplomacy. And Ruthless Leadership is like crazy card. Yeah, it's actually Ruthless Leadership one of my favorite cards because if you manage to to trash 2 cards on play with Staban, you will be like having like extremely slim deck. And also on reveal, you can deploy your troops. So deploying on reveal is extremely valuable, and because you can surprise someone because of that. And again, hitting this command on Staban is really easy because he usually sits in High Council. So yeah, all these three cards, they can like really boost your Sardaukar gameplay, and all of them. Like the standard is not that strong compared to the Leadership and Rebellion, because you usually buy it to trash. Maybe reveal it once for like 2 persuasion and a troop, but yeah, Rules of Leadership and Rebellion are really good to boost the Sardaukar game. And we'll talk about Sardaukar game and the skills to be first about.
Yeah, well, that was a great analysis, and I think now we should like to really transition into like the Sardaukar skills. I know we talked about like going to the text section next, but since we're at the Sardaukar section, let's quickly talk about like what Sardaukar skills are really good for Staban. So here we have every single Sardaukar skill laid out. We have Driven, Canny, Hardy, Charismatic, Fierce, Desperate, and Loyal. And also, why don't you tell us why you've arranged these skills in this manner?
So first of all, I will start with Driven. I think it's
okay.
But it's probably the best Sardaukar skill in the game, and it's usually like fought for in the early game. It's usually the reason people go Refinery first action just to buy a Driven skill, because getting 1 spice on reveal, it's when you Sardaukar participates in combat, it's big. And for Staban, it's even bigger, because as I mentioned, it's always you always need to have at least some spice, so you can trade it with your ring. So with Staban, it becomes like even more valuable. So it boosts your ring. It might allow you to buy some tax earlier than you would expect. So this is by far the best skill to have. And also, in addition to it, I within the same tier, I decided to put Kenny, because quite often it can give you 2 swords early on. Because usually you when you buy Kenny, you buy it with your first action, go into the green space. So the second action, you can deploy this Sardaukar to the combat. And also with Staban, you would be going to green spaces quite often to buy text, or maybe like to go High Council with a privilege, whatever. So yeah, this Sardaukar will have these 2 bonus swords almost all the time for Staban, and it's really good. Like another tier of skills, I would say, is like hardy and charismatic.
Okay.
I
Sorry,
didn't play
sorry.
the.
Before Earl,
Oh,
sorry,
yeah.
Earl. Before you go into like the next section, I just wanted to sum up. So just you know, wanted so in case people like just get the overall idea is driven really strong for Staban because you know the Solari generation is so nice. And that Solari can generate you spice again, which is gonna convert you back into Solari through your signet ring, or that spice can be used for text. Or just like going to Spice Refinery for like Swordmaster money. Going for Spice Refinery for like a revisit High Council. Again, driven, fantastic tech. And it's probably, as RL said, is fought for early game. So if you see this on the row, really try to target it as Staban. The next thing RL's mentioned is going to Canny, right? Since Staban doesn't have faction access, he's probably going to be visiting green spaces pretty commonly. So, you know, especially with multiple lines, as we said, of going to Haga Basin or Imperial Basin, and then going to take your second action to pick up a commander on Gather Support or Assembly Hall, you're going to be visiting green pretty commonly, and you don't have a faction access, so you're still going to be visiting green anyways. So make sure to buy a Canny, right? A Canny can generate you so much strength early in the game, right? Which can generate you, you know, maybe second places, even first places sometimes. And you just become a combat threat with Canny. Imagine you get both Canny and Driven. Now you get resources from Driven, and you become a combat threat as Canny. It's like a 2-for-1 deal. So that's why I think RL has placed these two in like the A tier or like the S tier for Staban in terms of skills. So, sorry, Earl, cut you off. Why don't you get us started on like the next tier of skills for Hardy and Charismatic?
Yeah, first I'd like to talk about Hardy, and
Okay.
I would mention that having Hardy on its own, like as a single Sardaukar skill, it's maybe not that great. So like the best is that when you have Hardy in addition to either Driven or Canny, because let's say you have it with Driven. One spice and one troop accounts to the third place in almost like most of the conflicts. So basically, just deploying Sardaukar, you already get like a third place reward, which is kind of crazy. So it's
Yeah.
both troop and spice generation. And with Canny, it allows you to combat infinitely. Not to mention, like you have like swords from Canny, and you have like decent firepower for the next round. You also have it because you generated like extra troop with Hardy. So Hardy it's really good in a strategy when you deploy every round. Maybe you're not trying to win every conflict, but you try to get some juicy second or third places. And the reward of this place is also like boosted of some of the resources you get for this Sardaukar. So Hardy is really nice for that. Charismatic is more nuanced, so it can
Okay.
can vote early to buy some Age Coaster. It's a reference to that desert tactics line we were talking about. If you went to Assembly Hall and you buy Charismatic, then you're almost guaranteed to hit a Persuasion. So it can be used like early on, and also in the late game, it can be used to buy Spice Bowl. So it will be like much easier to buy Spice Bowl with it. And if you bought some cards with command, that when you need like 6 Persuasion to hit it, or when you buy tech with command, it can also help you. So that's in addition to that. But yeah, I would say that both Hardy and Charismatic would be really great to have in addition to one of the S tier skills. On their own, they are not that strong.
Okay. Yeah, I think that was great analysis. He's saying, you know, make sure to buy one of these, but and after you've bought one of these, then target Hardy or Charismatic because they combat really well with Driven, mainly Driven, right? As RL mentioned, a lot of combats literally give you a spice and a troop back for third place. Actually, with that being said, let's quickly just like look through like a couple of combats. Like this one, you know, generating a spice and a troop for basically second place, around with another intrigue. This one, spice and troop for third place. Spice and troop for third place. Like literally just from having this specific combination of Sardaukar skills, Driven and Hardy, you are generating third place rewards along with anything else that you might generate from getting maybe third place itself. So you can one Sardaukar commander could be worth 2 spice and 2 troops from just being deployed, right? Obviously, as RL mentioned, charismatic is good, and it's a little bit nuanced because it can be useful for spice missiles later on. It can be also good for picking up like an 8 coster, as RL mentioned, with the specific like desert tactics into like a Imperial Basin line with your signal ring to then get charismatic round with your assembly hall action. But yeah, it can be very useful with charismatic to pick up like a nice 8 coster, and again also useful for spice missiles later on. But yeah, make sure to buy one of these 2 techs first, these 2 skills first, and then think about buying charismatic or hardy. At least as Staban. There's other leaders that prefer other skills, but for Staban specifically, driven Kenny, fantastic. Then go to hardy and then charismatic. And then finally, it's just like this tier. It's just like, are these ordered in any manner? RL, fierce, desperate, loyal. Like, would you prefer one over the other, or like why? What's the reasoning behind this tier? Or like why? I mean, these are just mentioned, right? These are the other skills. So why don't you talk us through?
Yeah, I would say that most of them are highly situational, and as I was talking about Sardaukars, I was mostly talking about buying them first round or second round. Okay. And buying all the like 4 upper skills can give you a boost for that. And if you're talking about like lower, Fierce is basically like maybe a slightly worse version of Kenny, but maybe situationally good if you have like worse to find against. Loyal is probably extremely bad on Staban, because getting to 3 Emperor influence with a leader without depot might be really tricky. Desperate is fine if you see like the combat you really want to win. For example, Spice Refinery combat. Control of a Spice Refinery is really good for Staban and also like for resource generation. So yeah, maybe buying this Sardaukar just to win this conflict might be really good. But other than that, like all of them are highly situational, and buying them early game quite often can be like a waste of resources, because all of them are some sorts, and you might not get like the resources you spent for them back because of that. So yeah, all of them are tricky compared to S tier and A tier skills.
Yeah, so I guess the ordering would be something like this. It's like, if you really want to fight for a combat, like assuming you've already bought some commander skills early on, because that's what really someone should be targeting. Assuming you've bought one of these, and then, you see like a random Sardaukar skill laying around, or like a skill laying around, or a commander laying around at like, High Council, and you revisit High Council, maybe pick up Desperate because, you want to get that combat match, you want to pick up like as Aura mentioned, one of the key combats that Staban really likes is Spice Refinery, right? Not because he's going to be going there, it's because other people are going to be going there. Spice Refinery is a key space for people to generate Solari, right? So if Staban can generate, he's already going to be generating spice with the smuggle spice ability on Imperial Basin, Haga Basin. If you can pick up another Solari from other people going to Spice Refinery, that's also fantastic. Not to mention the flag itself, not the flag, but the combat itself gives you 2 spice back, which again Staban can use to generate Solari on his own. And the spy can be useful again for maybe putting on Haga Basin to generate more spice, or maybe even like putting it back onto green if you had to take it off. But yeah, also a lot of times it's a 50% chance that this combat is a match for you. So, going for it and winning it with Desperate is actually a pretty good investment. So yeah, and then RL said like Fierce and Loyal can be useful, like very situational. Picking up Loyal can be really difficult as because you don't have a diplomacy. So, maybe don't pick up Loyal round 1. Again, you should never be picking up Loyal round 1 or round 2. But yeah, and Fierce can only be like can come into relevancy if you're playing against like a Muad'Dib or a Chani, and they're just like they've broken the wall, and they have like infinite water, so they're just gonna be spamming worms every time. So if you throw a commander in, it's almost always gonna be worth 4 because Muad'Dib is gonna be spawning worms, right? Again, you kind of have to look at the board state and just realize like, okay, Fierce is gonna be good in this scenario, but overall you should always be picking up driven or Canny in the start, and then later on if you see maybe like, depending on whatever commanders are left and the board state itself, pick up Desperate if you want to target like a tier 3 combat. Pick up Desperate if you really want to go for your match. Fierce if the people are going to be worming. Charismatic early on might be better actually maybe than Canny, actually maybe not driven, but charismatic might be better than Canny early on because you need the 8 coster, like a steersman. So again, there are some cases where you'd want to maybe the value of the commanders are like a little bit switched. But I think driven's always going to be one, and then charismatic Canny can be interchangeable in the sense that it really just depends on the row. But other than Canny, I think Aro mentioned is like pick up Hardy after driven, because if Canny's not there, because it's like a third place reward for putting it the commander in. But anyways, I think that should be it, right? For in terms of commander skills.
Yeah, maybe one thing to mention is Hardy becomes really good with ruthless leaderships, because you can deploy one more troop on the reveal, which can be like a surprise for the opponents, especially if they don't keep track on what you're doing. So yeah, if you have ruthless leadership, this Hardy becomes almost as good as Canny, because you have like these 2 extra swords on reveal that you can, for example, not deploy and leave it for like next round. So this card makes Hardy even better skill, maybe almost on the same like power level as Canny.
Yeah, not just Hardy, but also like say stuff like disruption tactics, like anything that allows you to deploy on reveal. Like disruption tactics, you trash this card, you get a deploy space. So like the reveal of action allows you to deploy. So if you have Hardy, you can deploy on reveal with Hardy. You could deploy that troop that you generated on reveal. Another card to mention would be Holy War, right? If you have the Fremen Bond with Holy War, you can easily deploy that troop that you generate with Hardy into the combat, along with the Holy War troop itself, right? The Holy War on its own generates a troop, and the Fremen Bond allows you to deploy it. So you just make up Holy War with like another Fremen card, like say like Disrupt, maybe not Disruption Tactics, but some other Fremen card, right? And then you can deploy that troop along with Hardy. Like you can basically get another 8 strength in with Holy War and Hardy into the combat, right? And that can be super, super powerful. But yeah, I think that was a really good shout out there for why Hardy can be much more like useful, or even maybe equivalent in terms of when compared to Canny, because of these deploy effects. Again, like if you pick up some intrigue, like say like adaptive tactics, Hardy becomes super strong because it allows you to reveal and then deploy again. But yeah, I think that should be it in terms of like Sardaukar skills, right? So we talked about the section for Sardaukar, and then finally, like just to mention overall, like these cards are very good on any leader, right? Shown Demands, Ixian Ambassador. Actually, Ixian Ambassador is I think probably one of the better cards. It's probably way better on Staban than it is on like other leaders, right? Because Staban already has like an 8-card deck, right? So if you pick up Ixian, and Staban for the most game is going to be going for a very economy heavy game, right? He's going to be picking up Spice. He's going to, with the Smuggle Spice ability, he's going to be picking up Solari to go like High Council. So techs are going to be cheaper on his own, right? So Ixian Ambassador might be one of the best techs for best cards for Staban actually, compared to other leaders, because they don't generate Spice as easily as Staban does. So Ixian Ambassador, if you see it, definitely pick it up. Alright, what are your thoughts on early revealing for Ixian Ambassador as Staban?
I'm not really sure. It really depends on your deck. Yeah, of course. If you don't have like you have like this what we call like dead hands. So I know a couple daggers, couple convincing, and some blue access or Dune. Yeah, if you don't really have like a good second action, you can early reveal for Ambassador. But yeah,
Okay.
if you have decent second action, maybe it's not the case. I don't know. Not sure about like early reveal. We can probably early reveal for Spectacle, but not Ambassador, because when you early reveal for Ixian Ambassador, you skip one action, and for example, you didn't go and get Spice. So yeah, early revealing for Ixian Ambassador might result that it will start like working later, because you skipped this round when you could get some Spice to buy 2 techs and make it work or whatever. So yeah, early revealing co-ambassador, not really sure about that.
Okay. I mean, Ixian Ambassador, I really like Ixian Ambassador, at least on Staban, or at least, I haven't played Staban much, but theoretically speaking, it feels really strong on Ixian on Staban. But yeah, I think as Aro mentioned, like, it just depends on your hand and your, the board state. Like, is it really worth it to early reveal? But if you have, like a hyper trashed deck, and you're gonna be seeing this card like every round, and you probably and you're easily gonna pick up 2 techs, already have one, or already maybe have 1 tech, then maybe early revealing for this seems good, right? It's just very situational, right? But yeah, Ixion Ambassador, one of the stronger cards for Esteban. The next couple of cards are just like, these overall they fit into this category of like getting free faction bumps, right, on play. Interstellar Trade, right? You're gonna be starting it like, and it's all really just comes down to the fact that Esteban has an 8-card deck, right? With an 8-card deck, if you see one of these cards as your 9th card, you're gonna be seeing this basically once every 2 hands. Right, so this is pointing the way as an extra bump because you're gonna have high council, so the 6 persuasion should be really easy for you to meet. Possible futures, right? It's a bump and troops, so you can make a combat threat. Assuming that you have a band adjusted card in play. Ixion Ambassador against a bump on reveal. Chome Demands as a 9th card. Completing contracts is gonna be so easy for you, right? I mean, a lot of contracts generate Solari on their own, right? There's a Harvest 4 here, right? It's just that's out in the open. You get 4 salary from that, right? And all you have to do is complete 4 contracts, and then you get a faction bump on every track, right? And Staban needs that faction bump because he has the limited allies ability. He doesn't have faction access. So unless you pick up like a faction access, like maybe Truth Stance or Truth Sayer, it's gonna be hard for you to get faction bumps. And then last card is like Imperial Throne Ship, right? This card has access to everything except for Fremen. So yeah, I mean, it allows you to maybe even go for an alliance if you have like a throne ship, because you're going to be using your throne ship as effectively like a Diplo. You're going to be getting an intrigue with it too. It also has it has a bump on buy, and also has the possibility to generate resources on reveal. And then finally, this whole section of like OP cards like Staban's Public Spectacle is like insanely dumb because he can generate spies so quickly, and then he has an 8-card deck. So just once you get your spy on like espionage, you just spam Public Spectacle, see it basically every round, and yeah, you're just in a great spot. Overthrow, Strike Fleet, Steersman. I mean, Strike Fleet is good on Staban because of the same reasoning for having spies. Steersman, Steersman is just great, and like both of the 8-costers, they're 8-costers for a reason, right? But yeah, I think that should be the overall analysis of like cards to buy. Yeah. Anything else you want to add, RL, for like either free bumps or OP cards, just to end this section of the video off?
No, this section is, I think it has been covered in previous videos. Most likely everyone mentioned this card. They are good to almost everyone. So yeah. Not much to add here.
Yeah, one thing to also just like mention quickly is like if you see some sort of faction access card on the row as Staban, like definitely pick it up. Like yes, the limited, like especially if you have no better options. Some examples would just be like Truth Sayer, right? Like this card like. Oh, what are your thoughts on this? Like, it's like it has 2 access. It has access to Emperor, has access to Benny, allows you to switch some cards around. It's not the greatest card, but if you are lacking like access to Emperor or access to Benny, this meets that requirement pretty easily. Same other cards would be like what else is there? What else out there? Oh, you could also maybe pull off some synergy with Urgent Shigawire, right? You can play this with like a Prepare the Way, and your Prepare the Way basically gets faction access and a future card draw, right? Can be useful with Urgent Shigawire. And then finally, just one thing to mention would be our one of the favorite cards that Staban players really like to play is Guild Envoy. Do you want to explain why people really like Guild Envoy? Or I've never understood why.
Well, I'm actually not a huge fan of Guild Envoy.
Really? Okay.
Because to make it shine, you really need some spacing card that you can discard, like Spacing Guild Favor, for example, that discards for 2 spies, or Bureaucrat that discards for 3 coins. So yeah, and if you don't have some spacing card to discard, that discard is pretty low. I would say I don't think that I value faction access on Staban that much to go for this card. But I also like think that it's maybe personal take on it, because I know some strong players who really like this card.
Yeah.
But you really need to think around it to make it work. Yeah.
Okay. Yeah. So I mean, just to mention, like if you see like a card like a Diplomacy, just basically a Diplomacy like Guild Envoy, like if you do end up getting some sort of synergy with like a Spacing Guild's Favor or some sort of like Disguised Bureaucrat, actually where's Disguised Bureaucrat? It's not over here. But if you end up getting some of the synergy off with that, then it can be useful. Anyways, yeah, I think that should be it for this section, right? We're done with all the cards, and the finally is like, we ended off on like the text, right? What are the good texts for Staban? So I guess let's get right into it. Why don't you start us off with, because I know having played with you for what, I guess like, I don't know, for a year, 2 years, RL loves the tech gameplay. So, and especially with his favorite leader, I think this is probably going to be one of the best sections to really get insights from RL.
I think this is like the next level of Dune is how he plays from where I am now. Like, I think you're the best tech player there is. Like, no one consistently buys that many techs and gets that much value out of it. It's like the third game I've seen this. Hey, Tess?
So why don't you get us started? What is good for Staban?
Yeah, so first of all, text is, in addition to Sardaukars, is really important aspect of Staban gameplay, because as Staban doesn't have that easy access to faction, he compensates for that of more Solari and Spice generation. So with better Solari generation, you can buy Sardaukar and go into High Councils or Master faster. And for Spice generation, of course, you would like to buy text. So yeah, of course, S tier for Staban would be these two techs. One is Server Receiver and another is Panopticon. So Server Receiver is basically like solves this problem of not having diplomacy, because your ring becomes diplomacy in addition to being like the most powerful ring. And also when you buy this tech, you get extra use of your ring. And if you manage like to have some spice, you can again like get this 3 coins for that. So let's say like you can, if you buy this card after like you go to one of the green spaces, you record a spy you placed there before, then you like use this like acquire and buy effect to replace the spy back. So basically you just cycled your spy for extra coins, which is huge. And also in some other cases you can go to factions with your ring. So it's really good tech for Staban, and you can buy it early on. I think I experimented with some of the openings when you go to Haga Basin, so you get 2 spies. You can buy this tech pretty soon, but I would say that maybe using your ring to trade spies to Solari early on is maybe better to prioritize this buying this tech, like let's say round 1 or something. And Panopticon for Staban, it's also like again like really crazy, because getting one bump everywhere is easy. You can get it with combats, you can get it with attacks or some other cards, and basically you just buy this card and you stop worrying about factions at all. You can completely focus on combats or maybe some other stuff, but you just your factions are taken care of because of Panopticon. And also it gives you a spy on reveal every round and one troop. But getting spies on reveal with Staban is again crazy, because every time your spy goes to some of the deserts, it starts working and producing spy for you. So Panopticon is crazy tech for Staban.
Yeah. Just to kind of show like visually what the server receivers tech line are also talking about. So say you see server receivers on the row, right? Say we're playing Staban. What's like a good number, right? Say you have like 5 Solari, you have like 3 spice or something, and it's just like a normal amount, right? So something like this, right? What you can do is actually, I've seen players where they actually end up going to High Council and generate more Solari than they would have had. I think this was one game where I actually was playing against Priceless, and it was something like this, right? He had a typical hand. I don't know. We'll just have like some 4 cards or whatever. He had some hand like this, right? It wasn't exactly this, but he had some hand. He plays Signal Ring to High Council first action with Staban, right? He goes to High Council, spends 5 Solari. He recalls the spy, so he gets a card draw. He gets a card draw, right? And then he sees this tech run the row, server receivers. Since in Bloodlines, each time if you have High Council seat, tech tiles cost you 1 less. Server receivers only costs him 1 spice to buy, right? So he can use server receivers. He can pick it up, right? So he has 1 spice, right? Now he can use, since he picked up this tech, he gets to use a Signal Ring ability. So now he can spend 1 spice to pick up 3 Solari, right? Because he can just put the spy back on green, right? And then since he has a second spy, and nobody really likes spying on Assembly Hall because that's not really a great space to spy, he just played a Signal Ring. He can spend another spice to get another 6 Solari to then put it on the other green space, and now he has 6 Solari again. Like, I swear he just had 5 Solari before this round, and now he went to High Council, which cost 5 Solari, by the way, and somehow generated 6 Solari, right? And what the thing was, what actually happened is that we started with this dilemma, and that ended up getting Swordmaster right after, like, because somebody had acquired Swordmaster, so makes a Swordmaster became 6 Solari to buy. So he ended up actually just getting both High Council and Swordmaster in one round, and it was extremely broken. And then he went on to win the game, but that's not the point. It's just like there was this niche scenario where I was able to witness one of the strongest plays of Staban with this server receivers tech. And then for the rest of the game, he could just take his Signa Ring to say like Fremkit, draw, generate Solari, and get like a commander in the combat. I think he had charismatic, so he was picking up even more Spice with slows. Like he was just having charismatic. Like his setup was insanely strong. But anyways, that's the one line that I want to talk about for Staban in terms of server receivers, because I've seen it happen, and anytime it happens against you, it just feels really bad because now you're just like in a position where it's like Staban kind of plays his own game and you can't really stop him. Same thing with Panopticon, right? Panopticon players, once they just get their Spice Slow engine going with like a charismatic, with High Council, it's really hard to stop them because they're only going to be playing solitaire. Like maybe they might start fighting in combats, especially for like a tier 3, but if they're really set up for that tier 3 combat, it's really hard to stop them, especially with Staban, right? Because he's going to be spamming commander skills early on, and if he gets Panopticon, he's going to have troops generation as well. He's going to have troop generation for round 7. He's going to have spy generation for Spice Must slows, and yeah, just overall, this combination is extremely dumb when you're playing against it as Staban, or not as Staban, against Staban. Anyways, let me just move aside my cards so that they don't get in the way. Okay. Yeah, thank you, RL. Let's go on to the next section. Unless you have anything else to add on for the S tier text.
Yeah, nothing to add about S tier. Let's talk about A tier text. And as you see, all of them are something about solar generation.
Yeah.
So Delivery Bay is really good tech to buy after if you went High Council, because every round starting onwards you will get 2 solar and reveal, which will boost your economy. Then Plasteel Blades allows you to get 2 skills for recruiting Sardaukar, and you'll also be left with 2 coins for some extra Sardaukar or maybe some others. So it's a really good. Of course, it's a really great tech for everyone playing through Sardaukars. And Spy Drone has everything has several components that are extremely good for Staban. So yeah, this 1 extra coin every round. And then you also get 2 spies, which are unblockable. And Staban always likes getting spies. And also you get these treasures to make your deck even slimmer. So yeah, it's pretty good tech. And for Staban, on Staban, it's really crazy if you manage to buy this tech from High Council. And on the turn when you recalled your own spy, right? So you placed the spy on the middle green space. And then you go there, recall your spy, sit on the High Council. Then so you can trash this round, and also you place 2 spies. And one interesting thing about spy drones is that it allows you to almost guarantee Swordmaster next round, right? Because this round you get 1 coin, and next round you can go to Refinery and get 5 more coins, right? Because 4 from Refinery and 1 from trashing, another 1 from flipping the deck. So basically, yeah, you get your High Council, you get some really nice tech, and you can also place these spies on Refinery and again return on the green space and almost get 2 unblockable spies for this line of going Refinery, Swordmaster next round. And getting High Council early in Swordmaster is always really good because then you will go Swordmaster, you will get discount for the techs. And yeah, it's really this 1 spice discount adds up to some decent discount when you buy 3 or 4 techs.
Yeah, it's insane. I know RL loves playing the whole tech synergy game. Actually, even at the invitational tournaments, every time I've played a game against RL, I think I've matched up against him 2 or 3 times. Every time I see his board, I see him playing some leader, and it doesn't even matter if it's a spy leader or if it's a spice leader or not. I'll see him pick up 3 or 4 techs, and it's just crazy because I don't know how he does it. But I'm glad we got RL on the show today, and he was able to explain how he kind of does it. And one of them is through Staban, right? The smuggle spice ability, and also just when you get High Council, each tech you're gonna get more, like you're gonna get more spice back since each tech is gonna be cheaper, right? Once you have high council, Cerberus Heroes becomes 1 spice, Spy Drones becomes 4, Plastio becomes 3, Plastio becomes 2, Delivery Bay becomes 2, Trinity Bow becomes free, right? These techs just become, they compound, and you just get more spice back for the more techs you buy. But yeah, I think that was a really good explanation of the text here. I really like the fact that you mentioned the spice refinery line with Spy Drones of just getting high council the one round and then getting sword master literally the next, and it's unblockable effectively unless you get like false ordered. But yeah, this is false orders for the people who don't know. Let's see, let's false orders false. Yeah.
Yeah, we also have this card, Holy War, which basically.
Yeah, if they have either Holy War or false orders, what can happen is that you have to basically move your spy. So each opponent spying on the board space where you sent an agent this turn must move that spy, right? Each opponent spying on the board space, so it's literally just the same text. This one actually allows them. So this one just moves the spy. This one actually places the spy on that board space. So it can be really annoying because you put your spies on like sword master and then put a spice on a spy refinery, and then let me put a spy on a spy refinery, and then somebody goes to sword master first, and then they decide what the hell's happening. They decide to false order you, so now you have to move your spy away, and you can't even get sword master that action. Anyways, it's just a niche case scenario to just look out for, because intrigue and this card specifically can ruin your sword master lines. But yeah, if you aren't worried about these two, then, or if they have been played already or nobody has acquired this card, then you should be pretty good. You should be in a pretty good spot to have both like sword master and high council very early on in the game. But anyways, yeah, I think that was really good. The reason why the A tier techs are the A tier techs is because they generate Solari, right? Plasteel Blades, Solari generation, and Commander skill generation, right? We already explained why Commander skills are good on Staban, right? Or which ones are good, so which ones you should be targeting. So getting an extra skill, maybe even like late game, right? Allows you to maybe pick up Desperate late game and then go for like a round tier 3 combat. Yeah, it just overall very good value. Delivery Bay, again, Solari generation, because you've just spent Solari to go high council, and Delivery Bay will get you that Solari over time to maybe go like spice. So maybe you go to high council, right, that round, and you generate, you have 6 persuasion, so the Delivery Bay that round was going to generate you 2 Solari. So now all you really need to do is get sword master is just generate 6 more Solari or 4 more Solari, which can be easily done through Spice Refinery. Assuming somebody else has gotten to sword master, it makes it cheaper. But yeah, I think that should be it for Spy Drones, Delivery Bay, and Plasteel Blades. They're really good on Staban because of the Solari generation. And yeah, these techs are very strong because this one allows you to trash, so you see more cards, you see better cards more. Plasteel Blades skills generation, and this one is just good for Solari generation, along with your Signal Ring. So yeah. And then finally, Arl, why don't you just quickly summarize what the situational techs are and why they're situational actually?
Yeah. So. One remark is Training Depot is never situational when you have high console. When you have high console, it's free, so you just pick it for free to source for most of the cases. So yeah, it's really situational when you need to spend 1 spice to buy it, especially early in the game. So yeah, you need to really consider it. But Training Depot is not Training Depot. The Forbidden Weapons is really situational. On Staban, it's probably better than on other leaders, because it might be the case that you are really hard to it's really hard for you to get bumps, and you only got a single bump from Sick of Ice. Picking Forbidden Weapons to get some combat wins, some margin tokens, and some resources from them might be a viable option for that. Because, for example, you can spend first 3 to 5 rounds of fighting for resources and margin tokens and everything. And then you might get your bumps in the later game, for example, by winning propaganda fight, or maybe buying some good card. That, not to mention that if you manage to grab Panopticon, buying Forbidden Weapons, having Forbidden Weapons, it's really good, because you can sell your bumps for the swords and still get these victory points in the end game. So yeah, Forbidden is I think in our community. Buying Forbidden early on is called Forbidden Gambit, and I think it's kind of tricky. I see it played really well. I saw it played really well. I saw it played really often, because bumps are usually victory points, so selling them is tricky. Yeah, and two other attacks is Suspensor Suit and ADA. Suspensor Suit is a decent attack on Staban, especially you can generate intrigues with your ring, sending your spies to faction spots. But again, it's mostly about mainly about like later game when you can afford spend two Solari for an intrigue. ADA is also a tricky attack because it destroys one of your spies completely. And for Staban, you would really love to have your spies because every spy on Staban serves their purpose. And having two spies instead of three might really hurt your game. But if you manage to buy the ADA round 1, it will generate you at least 6 intrigues. To the round 7, it might be like really good. And on Staban, buying ADA is easier because you can place your spy with your ring, so you have the spy. So yeah, usually buying ADA early on, the main problem is getting this spy somewhere else. So Staban, Casimir, and Mahaim can maybe some Fate can get it easily. But
Margot
yeah,
too.
again, Margot too. But for Staban, your spies are really valuable. So you need to consider whether it's good to buy ADA.
Yeah, I think that was a fantastic analysis. I like the fact that you mentioned forbidden weapons there. It can be a fun little strategy to really play well. At least when I've seen it being played well is like people buy this like round 1 or round 2, or sorry, probably round 2 or like round 3, and then they get like the resources that they need until like round 4 or round 5 they win the combats that's relevant for them, and then they trash it by like round 5, and then they start working on the factions. One thing I've seen with Staban players is that anytime they buy forbidden weapons, they trash it in like round 4 or round 5, and then somehow magically Panopticon gets revealed, and then they're in position to buy it, and then it just feels so it feels like the worst thing ever when this happens to like a Staban player, or like when you're playing against a Staban and this happens to them, where they trash forbidden weapons and then randomly Panopticon shows up, and then now they're sorted for the rest of the game. It's just a little bit annoying, but forbidden weapons, if it's played well, can be comboed really well with Panopticon. Not specifically on Staban, but it can be. It's good on anybody, but it's really more effective on Staban because he doesn't have a diplomacy, so he's not getting any faction bumps anyways. And the thing with forbidden weapons is that it says you must choose to get 3 spice and a down bump, or lose all your spice and trash this. Sorry, 3 swords and a down bump. But if you have no faction bumps at all throughout the game, you just take 3 swords on reveal. You don't have to choose. You can choose this option and just choose and like just not take the down bump because you have no faction bumps. If you do have a faction bump, though, you do have to take it down. Even if you have one faction bump anywhere. This is really good when you have 0 faction bumps everywhere. And because you just get 3 swords on reveal for the rest of the game. Until you trash it, obviously. You also want to be economical when you trash this, but anyways, that's for a later talk. But yeah, I'm glad you mentioned that forbidden weapons can be useful on Staban because he doesn't get faction bumps anyways. ADA, as RL mentioned, is you really want all your spies on the board. Your spies are probably going to be serving multiple purposes, right? One of your spies is going to be on green, right? Because you want that spy to generate Solari and with your signal ring, and one of your spies or maybe in both your spies you want to be on like one of these on the basin spaces, right? You want them to generate oh my god, what's happening? You want them to generate like spice when other people go there, right? If in one round you're able to get somebody to go Imperial Basin for like a +1 or Haga Basin for a +1, now you've just generated 2 more spice for that round without having to actually harvest anything, right? And then eventually you probably want to put 1 spy on like either espionage, spacing, or emperor, and assuming you've bought some sort of spy access card, as we mentioned from up here, like Wheels, Imperial Spymaster, all right, you want to maybe put a spy on like a faction space so that when you do purchase a card, you can take that card to a faction space and get some faction boosts that way. But yeah, I think that was really good of an analysis. Training Depot, as mentioned, should always be bought. if you have High Council, because it's a free tech. Suspensor suits. I'm glad you mentioned that, RL, because a lot of times people actually forget about Staban's alternate ring ability, right? He has the main ability, which is if you put a spy on green, you get a spice for 3 Solari. But he also has the other ability where you can actually put a spy on one of the faction spaces and spend 2 Solari to generate the intrigue. So his signal ring actually is a dual purpose signal ring. It can work like Baron, or it could work like or it could just work like Staban. I think Staban is the only leader that generates Solari on a signal ring for like a specific conversion rate. Everybody else just generates Solari normally, like Matuli. Anyways, yeah. So this one, Staban can eventually play into like a Spencer Suits line with the signal ring because he can put a spy on like a faction space. Yeah, I think that should be it for mentioning Staban. Oh, one thing that I really wanted to mention was like, so I know I've had some players when they actually have something like this, right? When they have some sort of like 2 spies out, right? And what happens is that some player, right, decides to put a spy on like this space, not just to block them, but maybe they also want to try the strategy where they, put aside like they take their dagger to assembly hall so they can recall the spy, right? I've seen some players where they play their signet ring to a space, right? Say it's like say they go to like, I don't know, Eric Keen, draw a card, get a troop, right? But then they decide that they want the 3 Solari. So they try to recall the spy. Oh my god. They try to recall the spy and, try to put it back onto... Oh my god. Oh, this is so annoying. Where's tools?
Yeah, you mean placing it back to get the resources?
They place it back on the, they try to place it back on the space to try to generate the one spice for 3 Solari. And I think that actually is what an illegal move, right? I believe the only way you can do that is if you have all 3 spies out. So if you are Staban, you want to try to make sure you have all 3 spies out before you do that. There we go. Yeah, you want to make sure you have all 3 spies out before you do that. You can only recall a spy and take the spy and place the action again if you have all 3 spies out or all 2 spies out if you have ADA. But yeah, what you cannot do is if you have a spy out and somebody's blocked on the space, you cannot go to a space with their signal ring and then try to generate try to do the top ability of putting a spy on green and then generating the Solari. So yeah, this is the one thing to keep in mind as Staban, is that you can't do that. So just a future, if you guys do end up playing Staban, you cannot, like, it's just like one of those illegal things you cannot do. What you can do is make sure to like recall a spy with like an intrigue first and then decide to put it back. So that's allowed. And the only other way it's allowed is if you have all 3 spies out, and then you decide to play a signet ring, then you can decide to recall the spy and then decide to instantly put it back on there with the ability. But yeah, I think that should be it for the whole Staban guide, unless you have like any closing remarks to add on to, RL.
Not much I can think of. Yeah, that's pretty much it.
Well, yeah. Thank you, RL, for actually, being a guest on the show. We appreciate your time. Hopefully, the viewers appreciate your commentary and my insights from for Staban. Although I'm not an avid Staban player, most of my insights come from other players playing Staban, like yourself. And I'm glad you were able to join us and give us a nice little commentary on Staban of his opening lines. I think that's really one of the things that people really ask for, is the opening lines for Staban. And I'm glad you were able to bring up the whole like Haga Basin and to like gather support or assembly hall line, because that is one of the strongest lines for Staban Tuek. But anyways, I think we'll wrap it up there. And RL, we appreciate your time and thank you for joining us and talking to us about Staban Tuek.
Yeah, thank you for having me. Yeah, if you have not played Staban yet, yeah, that's the time to start playing Staban.
I believe the last time I played Staban was August 2024, so it's been a really long time since I played Staban. So I'll definitely give it a go again, maybe sometime soon. But yeah, we appreciate you and thank you so much for being here. And with that, I think we'll end it right there. See you guys on another video later.